Hey everyone, good morning. Apologies for my silence this week. I am actually out in California with my mom. She has Parkinson's and she had a Parkinson's setback, so I came out to help her out and spend some time with her. And it has been some revisitation of trauma for me, so I'm imagining some people might be able to relate. So my mom also has pretty strong borderline tendencies, and so very challenging upbringing. And so being back in the physical space has definitely stirred a lot of unexpected trauma for me. So thinking about, what does trauma feel like? What are some of the symptoms? A lot of anxiety and agitation, being hard to stay in your body, feelings of dread and panic and hypervigilance, for sure, feeling jumpy in the body, feeling jumpy in the motions, feeling shaky, panicky, racing thoughts, racing bodily sensations, nausea, general feeling upset and unsafe. And it's really reminded me a lot of, in my adolescence, just the degree of desperation and emptiness that I felt. And so, for me at the time, my main coping strategies were food and TV. That was what I turned to get me through those times, to try to find some small piece of safety. And so I feel grateful now that I have a lot better tools than that. Definitely gave me a lot of compassion for my former self, thinking about some of the challenging things that I faced over the years. So in addition to all of my usual tools, then I had brought with me Peter Levine's excellent book on healing trauma called Waking the Tiger. And so he has a very interesting perspective on trauma. He talks about trauma from a physiological sense. And so he talks about trauma and the post-traumatic symptoms that we experience as being incomplete physiological responses that become suspended in fear. And so his philosophy is that we can return to our full vitality and wholeness once we are able to discharge that survival energy that becomes trapped in our bodies. And so he did a lot of research with animals and looking at what happens to animals when they experience trauma. So for instance, when animals are chased and attacked and it seems like they might die, then of course, as we probably have all seen, in addition to the flight and fight responses that we have, we also have a freeze response. And so a lot of times animals, just before they feel like they're going to be attacked and they might die, then they tend to collapse and basically go numb. So this is part of the animal body's response to trauma, to try to protect us by anesthetizing us in our bodies and in our emotions from the experience of death and pain. But also what happens, like with animals, then Levine in his studies, and he saw that after animals experienced a trauma freeze response like that, then once the danger had passed, then they would get up and then they would have a whole elaborate kind of shaking process that they would go through, a lot of trembling and just shaking off all of that energy. And that was part of their reorienting themselves to their space and to be able to come out of the trauma. And so what Peter Levine is arguing is that for humans, then we don't shake off that response after a trauma. We tend to stuff it. Like, that was my literal response with my eating disorder, like stuff down all of my emotions with food. And so rather than being an exploder, I became an imploder. And so all of that emotion that didn't feel safe to be in my environment, and all the ways the lack of safety in my environment caused me to feel inside my body, inside myself, then I turned all of that in on myself. And so this happens with a lot of folks who experience some kind of trauma. And so we end up lacking vitality and aren't really able to fully engage in life as a result, because we get stuck in that freeze response. And so then it becomes a whole experience of helplessness and passivity with regards to life, because of feeling defeated by circumstances. And so the importance of being able to recreate scenarios where we get the opportunity not to be defeated, but to be victorious in order to bring our energy back. And so some of the things that he suggested that I was trying is really about getting that energy out of your body. And so when those symptoms come up, I did a lot of just like running in place like crazy. And so imagining yourself that you are fleeing the scene of the trauma and that you are victoriously carrying yourself away. So not only having the opportunity to release the old stuck energy from your body, but also to be able to recreate a different scenario. And so through your body, you're able to experience taking yourself away and having a victorious outcome instead of a defeated outcome. Doing a lot of just punching the air in the middle of the night to get some of the agitation out of my body. It's been really, really helpful. So anyhow, just figured maybe other folks are going through some intense things right now. And so in addition to the usual tools that I have been posting, especially around how to create an inner sense of safety, then I thought, really thinking about what is happening, the sensations that are happening in our bodies, especially for me, because, a lot of the coping with trauma was leaving my body, and that was all tied up with me being trans. And so just to practice even, touching my body and reminding my body, like, this is my arm, this is what it feels like, this is my chest, this is what it feels like, and really come into the sensation in my body to bring myself back into my body, and then to notice not just the emotions that are coming up from the past experiences, but especially what are the physical sensations that are coming up, because the physical sensations are pointing the arrow to where the trapped energy is, to where there's unresolved trauma that needs to be released. So that is what I am working on myself. I am looking forward to heading home, and hope you all had a nice holiday weekend, and I will touch base with you again when I am back in Colorado. Okay, thanks.